Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where there is again plenty of Barca news coming your way. We're going to be talking yet again about Nico Williams today, along with as well Rafael Leao on that left-hand side. We've also got an update on Frenkie de Jong's contract situation and another explanation as to why Hansi Flick may have decided not to count on Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, and we also may or may not have an absolutely ludicrous quote from Javier Tbas coming up. So keep a look out for that. It's all on the way. So come on and let's do this. And I would just like to quickly say, guys, that over on MORETALKFCB today, yes, MORETALKFCB does still exist. I have tried something, well, completely new. It's like nothing I've ever done before, and I really don't know how it's going to go. So maybe after this video, if you want to check that out, that would indeed be appreciated. It's over there on MORETALKFCB. But if we do indeed start where we left off, really, in yesterday's video, talking there about Nico Williams, with many Barcelona fans thinking, okay, he might be the man, he still might be the man to come in and really help us there on the left side of our attack, and certainly I can understand that opinion, as I spoke about yesterday. I think Nico, in terms of the targets that have been profiled, he would have to be towards the top of the list. But what I want to talk about today is what the club are thinking, because obviously we as fans, we have an opinion, we have lots of them, but it's about the club here. What are they planning on doing this summer? And what we do know from the media there, from what we're hearing over the last 24, 48 hours, is that the club, they still really do value Nico Williams. It's not as though inside of the club here, they've forgotten how good he is. You know, they still see his performances, they still observe the way that he would fit this Hansi Flick team very, very well, and they also acknowledge here, and this is important, the feelings of the fans. They see him here as a player who really does appeal to the Barca fan base. He plays there with the national team. He's very, very popular as well, of course, there. And he also has a fantastic relationship with so many Barca players. You know, Barca see this here as a player who could come in and fit in very, very quickly. It wouldn't take much at all for him to make that transition. And I think the one thing that you really pick up right now from the media and that feeling inside of the club is if they don't go for Nico this summer, if they choose not to make a move for him in the end, what we have to say is that it won't be because of last summer. It will not be because of any emotional sort of backlash or fallout from what happened last summer, because Barca right now, they don't feel any animosity towards Nico Williams. Obviously last summer, it wasn't ideal for anyone, but they don't really hold that against him, because at the end of the day, guys, here, I think it's very important to point out, it's not like he said, oh no, I don't want to join Barca, and then he joined Real Madrid. Then he went to an arch rival instead. At the end of the day, he said, no, I don't really want to join right now, and he stayed with his boyhood club. I mean, in modern day football, that's actually quite admirable. That's actually something there that shouldn't really be used against him in this situation. So Barca, if they don't go for Nico, it will not be because of past events. It will simply be about can he add to our squad? Does he have the quality? It's about the price as well. Barca appreciate the fact that he has quite an attainable release clause, but as of right now, he is still not the top target. Now, I still believe personally he's there. He is in amongst the club's targets. It's not as though they don't even acknowledge him anymore. He's still there, but he is not the favoured, the very top option for Barca right now. And that's interesting in itself, because Nico Williams right now, it's not as though he's waiting only for Barca, but he doesn't seem in a great hurry to leave Athletic Club. He doesn't seem to be sort of pushing here his way out. He's got potential interest from the Premier League there. The likes of Arsenal have been reportedly interested in him, but he also doesn't seem in a hurry to leave Spain. He would like to remain in Spain, and ultimately, if Barca don't make a move for him this summer, there is every chance he actually renews with Athletic Club. And what that would mean there is that Nico there would sign a deal on bigger money, bigger salary for sure, but that release clause would also increase from 60 million. So it does feel as though here for Nico and his career and his future there in La Liga, this could be a very decisive summer. Will Barca go back? Will they be frustrated in their pursuit there of Luis Diaz? Will they look elsewhere? Will they find their way back to Nico? But if they don't, there's every chance he just continues at Athletic, and there's every chance he may price himself out of any future move. However, guys, what is certainly worth mentioning at this stage when we're talking about left wingers is what is happening with Rafael Leao right now. Because obviously, I think we have to pay attention to this, because he is somebody who has been repeatedly linked to the club. And it's another player here the club haven't just forgotten about. You know, we may be hearing a few other names, but you've always got with Leao that Jorge Mendes connection, and that is certainly something that we could see really come to the fore in these weeks ahead of us here. We know that Joan Laporta has always been a very big fan of Rafael Leao, and the big news right now is that this summer he would like to leave AC Milan. Now, that has not been the case for the past few seasons. This is something here, it's a situation that's been changing. It was a poor season there for Milan. Rafael Leao now would like to leave, and they would reportedly be open to offers of 70 million euros for him. Now that's interesting in itself here, because only, a year or so ago, we were talking about well over 100 million. We were talking there about 120, 140, ridiculous numbers there for Leao. Now, that price is potentially getting slashed to 70 million. Now, is there a reason for that? Because ultimately, Leao for me would still represent a risk. And the reason for that is because, one, he is still inconsistent. He is still not been able to string together, a real run here of consistently top performances week in, week out. And also I would look at the work rate, especially here looking at Hansi Flick team. You've got to work hard. You've got to play for the team. You've got to be there all about the collective. Now, Leao, I think there are concerns in that department there. But at the same time, he could be a wonderful player. Now, I've always thought this about him. He's got the attributes. He's got the stature there. He really could be a 1-versus-1 magician. But it's about extracting that. It's about getting that out of him. And to pay 70 million here for somebody who you don't quite know what you're going to get, it would be a massive risk here for Barca this summer. But it is a name here to keep an eye on. It is a name that we are still tracking. And it is a name that has the potential to be absolutely world-class. However, though, guys, then we must move on to these latest reports that we are hearing regarding Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, because I think it's been absolutely fascinating in the media over the past few hours here, talking about why Barca have taken this very sudden stance on Ter Stegen. Where did it all come from? What was the moment whereby the club thought, okay, we don't count on you anymore? Did it come directly from Hansi Flick? When did that faith in Ter Stegen sort of evaporate? Well, I think the first thing to note here is that Hansi Flick has never actually been that much of a big Ter Stegen fan. You think back to their time together in Germany, the relationship wasn't pretty good there. It wasn't actually a great relationship. Flick actively preferred Manuel Neuer all the time, every time, even despite injury concerns with Neuer. He chose him over Ter Stegen. And I think already then, when he becomes your club coach, you're going to start to have some doubts. You are going to start to feel maybe a little bit uncomfortable that, okay, this guy, he doesn't really trust me. He doesn't actually rate me that highly. But what is the problem here, reportedly? And again, these are rumours. We don't know that they are factual. We don't know whether they are 100% accurate, but it's our job to talk about them. And apparently Barca were very unhappy with Ter Stegen's attitude late in the season, at the business end of the campaign there, during the big games, big Champions League games, because it was all about the game against Inter, the second leg there against Inter, when Ter Stegen and his agent, the club felt, put unnecessary pressure on the team, on the coaching staff, on the players around them, by making it not only privately known he was ready, he wanted to play, he wanted to be registered in the Champions League, but also publicly too. Ter Stegen actually came out before that decisive second leg, and he's speaking to the media. He's doing a very public interview there about the fact that he's ready, his body is 100%, he wants to play now. And like I say, Ter Stegen felt as though Flick should have unregistered Szczesny in the Champions League, and that he should have been reinstated. And given that he wasn't, given that he was not registered then for the Champions League, apparently Ter Stegen was so frustrated, he didn't go to Milan with the team. That is why he was not in Milan with his teammate. He trained alone back in Barcelona, and he did not travel, unlike somebody, for instance, like Jules Koundé, who was also injured, but he was with the team. And that's the part there that, in my opinion, gives this rumour real life. It gives it very much real context here. Ter Stegen wasn't in Milan. Why wasn't he there? Why was Koundé there when he was injured? But Ter Stegen, the captain of the club, don't forget, he was not. And reportedly, and again, it's only rumours, we don't know for sure, but reportedly, Flick was furious at that. And I absolutely get that there. I cannot believe that Ter Stegen thought, after the whole season pretty much being out, with us having to rely on Szczesny and him playing well, being a regular feature in the Champions League, why did he think in the most decisive game of our season we were just going to tear all that up and we were going to change everything at the last minute? That is absolutely ridiculous. And I would understand here why Hansi Flick would be fuming, because don't forget, it's all about the team. It is all about the collective effort, working together in a Flick team. Everybody is united and prioritising the team over your own feelings and situations. That is not what Ter Stegen has done here. And it's interesting because, guys, we all noticed a noticeable difference in Wojciech Szczesny since Ter Stegen returned, since he was back in training there, since maybe he was putting on some unnecessary pressure. It's not helpful. You know, you're thinking of those Champions League games against Inter. Decisive, massive games. You want everything, absolutely everything going your way. You want perfect conditions. And you may have had somebody inside of the club making things a bit uncomfortable, putting on this unnecessary pressure privately, publicly. It wasn't needed. And if that is the case, I can absolutely understand why Flick has thought here, I'm not having that. I cannot have that in my team. I do not count on you. I do not trust you. I ultimately do not rate you. That's why Barca are signing a keeper. It's happening, and Ter Stegen is not part of Flick's plans. But indeed, guys, we also have to talk right here about Frenkie de Jong's contract situation. And this one, it's very, very important. You know, heading into the summer here, this is one of those time-sensitive situations. We have to get this resolved as quickly as possible, because don't forget, Joan Laporta has made it very, very clear publicly the club won't accept any player heading into that final year of their deal. Now, that's nothing personally against Frenkie de Jong. It's not directed solely at him. It's the club's policy. They do not want contracts to run down. They don't want to be put into that situation again. I think pretty much ever since the Ousmane Dembele situation, we do not want a repeat of that ever. So we have to get things done. And I think actually one of the biggest and most positive pieces of news that maybe has gone a little bit under the radar over the past few days, Frenkie de Jong, he is working to break his contractual relationship with his agent, Ali Dursun. Now, this is massive news in my opinion, because he has actually been with Frenkie for his entire career as agent. They've actually worked together for many, many years. He's been part of so many negotiations and renewals and signings there with Barca. But Frenkie doesn't trust him anymore. Frenkie does not want to be with him, and potentially it is because of some of the problems that have occurred there in those negotiations with Barca. And I personally believe this could be vital in terms of Frenkie renewing at the club and getting to the table and actually thrashing out a really good agreement for all parties. I think it would be great to do that without Ali Dursun, because this is the agent, guys, who's just been impossible. He's been impossible to work with. You cannot get him to the negotiating table. Barca, over many, many seasons here, they've wanted to talk to him. They've wanted to maybe open conversations about renewing or changing Frenkie de Jong's contract. He's never wanted to talk. We have never been able to actually get into any kind of negotiations. He's the kind of guy where the phone rings, he blocks the number. He turns the phone off. He hides under the table. So I think here, if Frenkie can get rid of him and actually move away from all of that, surely that helps us. Surely that helps us here in negotiations over that potential new deal, because we do want Frenkie to stay. We have seen his performances in the second half of the season. He has been outstanding under Hansi Flick. Flick wants him to stay, make no mistake about that. And hopefully this can help. Hopefully here this could be a real step in the right direction so that we can keep Frenkie at the club. However, guys, I did promise you, didn't I? I did promise you a Javier Tbas quote. Now, I do like to sort of keep these few and far between. You don't want to be talking about this guy regularly. You know, that's not good for anybody's mental health. But let me give you one quote here. When Javier Tbas, and this will give you a good laugh today, I assure you, because Javier Tbas was asked about the Ballon d'Or, he said it must be between Lamine Yamal and Vinicius Jr. Who is that? Who are you talking about? Yamal and Vinicius. I mean, what is this guy watching? I mean, what is this guy actually on? I mean, what planet is he on? Because quite clearly, he's not seeing the same as the rest of us here. You could talk about Yamal. You could have named so many other players to go with him, and you went with Vinicius Jr. That is extraordinary. That is absolutely mind-boggling there, guys. So please let me know when you saw that quote there, when you read it, between Yamal and Vinicius. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below, and let me know about all of your thoughts on everything else that we have discussed in today's video, guys. I hope that you are enjoying the uploads right now. I really appreciate all of your fantastic support, and I wish you a fantastic weekend. Thank you indeed. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça.